listening to the Nerdy Reads podcast, a hipster goblin media production.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Reads podcast. As you guys know, we've been doing a book club on The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Recollect. So if you have read parts 1 and 2 and have not watched the episode yet and you want to, go back and check that out. We also did author bio on Jason. We love the dude. We like his work. He's an amazing author. We're enjoying this one too. So we got part 1, 2. Today we're doing 3 and 4. Robert, give us a rundown.
All right, the rundown is, man, Frank it gets a phone call from his daughter, Maggie, who he hasn't spoken with for 3 years. She says, Dad, I want to reconcile. I'm getting married. I need you at the wedding. He's like, hold up. He drives out to meet his future son-in-law to discover that it is the son of tech billionaire Errol Gardner. Frank is a little suspicious, but he goes with it. The day before he leaves for the wedding, he gets a package in the mail that says, what happened to Dawn Taggart? Where is Dawn Taggart? There's a picture of his future son-in-law with her at the beach. Obviously casts suspicion. Frank has to go out to Osprey Cove, a little a campground on a lake that this family owns. He has to sign a weird NDA when he gets there. Weird stuff starts going on. Frank sees his son-in-law go off to a random shelter in the middle of the woods with some girl that's not his daughter. There's all types of stuff, weird stuff happening. Where we last left Frank, he claims that Aiden's nowhere near the festivities for a rehearsal dinner. Mm-hmm. And he claims he was with his mother all evening. And Frank kind of leaves, and then there's a mysterious silhouette in the window waving at him, and people assume that's Catherine Gardner. And she kind of waves back at him. And that's kind of where we're at. Frank's trying to figure out what's going on. Is my son-in-law involved with this Dawn Taggart girl? It's a very weird vibe. He feels out of place at this wedding too.
Which who would not feel out of place at a wedding when, your daughter comes back after a few years of not missing, but she's not wanting a relationship. So, hey, I'm getting married. And then you get a picture of your future son-in-law with a chick. And it says, ask about Dawn Taggart. And so you got all this stuff going on. There's so much mystery. And, in this first, I think it was part 3, is when we actually get to meet the mother of Aiden. And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we do meet her in part 3. I believe I think this book was layered in a way to try and cast suspicion on all the main characters. Now I'm thinking back on it, part 1 largely cast suspicion on Aiden.
Yeah.
And he showed up in the penthouse with bruises on his face. He's got money hiding under the toilet. And then part 2 is casting suspicion on Aiden's father, Errol. And just the Gardners in general. You're signing a weird NDA. You're on Gardner Standard Time when you're at their camp. Part 3 very much shifts and casts the suspicion on Maggie, where we're at. Mm-hmm. And the chapter opens up with a little backstory of Maggie and Frank. And Maggie had her first job as she wanted this really expensive coat. Frank orders it. And Maggie's like, oh, someone took it off the porch. It never got delivered. Frank works for UPS. He's like, hold on, man. The guy who would have delivered this knows our house. No way this happened. So Frank reaches out. The company sends another one. Turns out Maggie actually had both all along and just wanted to sell one for some profit and did a little mail fraud, which didn't stick well with him. And that was your first kind of red flag towards Maggie for part 3.
Yeah. Well, and it just shows that, because there is some suspicion that she's got some narcissism and some shadiness. And even his sister's like, Maggie, you know how she is, kind of stuff. And it kind of makes you go, hold up, bro. Frank's been blaming himself for this all this time. And, we like to say this word every now and again on here, but his daughter's trifling, bro.
Oh yeah, she trifling. I think he called Vicky and was confiding in her because of how weird the weekend is. It's a pretty big plot twist. So if you're reading the book with us and you're kind of listening to it, if you're on part 3, I assume you're reading this, but they find Gwendolyn dead in the water, right? Maggie and Frank are on a canoe ride. Gwendolyn's body, Aiden's friend from college, dead in the water. This really casts some suspicion on Aiden because that dude straight up threatened her in his little studio. And what was weird about all this to me is it went over pretty nonchalantly. Maggie just brushed it off. The Gardners brushed it off. They kind of just they own the police. So they had them down there. They had this cleaned up, and Maggie's like, all right, we'll meet you later for the hike. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really weird because Gwendolyn was going to tell Frank everything. She's like, hey, fake sick, stay home from the hike. And now she ends up dead. And he's confiding in Vicky, and she gave Frank like this pretty cool quote about people not being able to view their kids objectively. She told him every parent is an unreliable narrator. We think we know our kids better than anyone, but none of us can truly see them objectively. And I think that's a nod to Maggie knowing more than what we think is going on here.
Yeah, I think that that scene in general, like you said, it's just this brush off, and the fact that they're like, and it's so suspicious too, because Hoo-Ho comes in, he's like, oh, we found these drugs in her bag. I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you, Frank, because you're a member of the family. Yeah. So I'm going to fill you in on a secret. The cops found drugs that she OD'd on. And so then all of a sudden, here she is. She's a drug addict all of a sudden who overdosed and died in the lake mysteriously, and, it's a shame. It's a shame. Just another drug accident. It's just a shame. And even Frank at that time is just like, he's even calling it out.
Yeah.
He's like, she seemed fine to me. She was so coherent when I talked to her last night. She didn't seem like she was on drugs, all these things. And it was crazy because we all knew the minute they're coming back from that canoe ride and they see a body floating. Oh, yeah. We didn't even need to know. Frank even mentions, he goes, they were like, who is that? And he goes, I already knew the answer to that. I saw her red hair. I knew who it was. He knew, but we knew before we even saw the red hair. She was going to tell Frank. They knew she was going to tell Frank.
She got to get gone. That's what happened. Gone.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So Frank doesn't go on the hike, obviously, because he shook up and he's like, you know what, man, I'm going to go find the Taggarts. So he rolls into town, finds the Taggarts, and they kind of tell him about what happened the night her daughter disappeared, and she kind of recounts information we received previously, and it was nothing new, but there was a tidbit where her daughter actually dated Aiden all summer. It wasn't just a fling. And Frank is like, what? And he's like, I wish I still had that picture. He's like, oh, we do have it on her laptop. So she was able to give him another copy of the picture. And Frank's like, all right, man. He's like ready to get to the bottom of this. He goes back to Osprey Cove. It's jumping. It's wedding weekend. And he meets one of Maggie's friends from college, Mean. And it's like another red flag on Maggie's character. They kind of go through a backstory where she almost got kicked out of college because she was selling test answers with someone named Jessica. Maggie ended up exonerated and Jessica took all the blame. So when I read this, I'm like, oh, okay. So we had red flag 1 and 2. Maggie knows something, bro. Yeah. She's involved in a big way is how I felt at this point.
Well, it just keeps on going. And at this point, it's just looking more and more like Maggie is a shady, shady character. Yeah. And, she's really manipulated our boy Frank.
She really has, dude.
Our boy Frank is so beyond repair from what his daughter has done to him. Basically, he blames himself for literally everything. He goes back and so far back in time that he's remembering a stuffed animal that was left behind and blaming himself for, and she lets him do it.
Yeah.
And she even thrives in it and continues to build in his insecurities in their relationship in the way that she interacts with him about things. And so she's the worst.
Yeah, she's pretty bad, bro.
She might, bro, we've read about some evil characters. She's not the most evil character, but she's up in that. Yeah,
she's in an upper echelon of evil. He actually confronts Maggie with that picture. She's like, Dad, look at the hands. You can tell the hands are Photoshop. So this is kind of where the books gets going. Cause now it's in Frank's head,
dude,
this picture was actually Photoshop. What's real, what's fake? I can't trust my eyes. I don't know who to believe. This man, Frank starts doing some questionable things. None more questionable than taking Aiden's phone off the table. He swipes that phone, sneaks into their lodge, and busts into Aiden's mom's bedroom like, hey, yo, what up, Catherine? I've been trying to meet you all weekend. Because one of the last things Gwen said to Frank before she died was, if you haven't met Catherine Gardner, then you know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank's like, I have to meet her. And he gets in there, and Catherine's in pretty bad shape, dude. They've been telling us it's migraines, but really she's just an alcoholic.
Yeah, I think too, though, alcoholic, yes. But I also think that they have medicated her.
Yeah.
To the point of, at least that's what I was.
You're right. I glossed over the fact that they keep her heavily sedated, and we learned why they do that.
Right. And so I think it's just she isn't around because they don't want her around. And she's probably a loose cannon, and we find out why. There's even more.
Yeah. So we get the truth about Don Taggart. It turns out Don wasn't dating Aiden. Mm-hmm. He was dating Errol. Mm-hmm. And Errol got bored of her, but she was pregnant and she started making demands, and it was like $45,000 and a month or whatever it was. And Catherine Gardner was like, when Don's making these demands to her and Aiden, she's like scoffed, like, I have $45,000 in pennies. Like I donated $1.4 million to this little art museum. What's $45,000 to me? But it was the way that she demanded it. So she hit her in the head to teach her a lesson.
Yeah.
And she's bleeding, and Dawn freaks out and runs away, and she falls down the steps and cracks her skull, and see you later, Dawn. So Catherine Gardner played a role in Dawn's death. And that was like kind of the information there that unfolded. And because of this, they keep Catherine like heavily sedated. They don't know when she's going to pop off. And she's about to tell Frank something about her daughter, but everyone busts in the room because they realize Frank's in there with the phone. And after all this, Aiden's like, man, I want to come clean. But like, Hugo's really scary. He was like working overseas. He's part of all these things. And, you're on his radar, Frank. You need to be careful. And at this point, Frank's like, dude, we're getting to the end of part 3. He's like, I need to go confront my daughter right now. And I'm not going to do it at the rehearsal dinner. So he goes back to her lodge.
Oh, can I go ahead and
take this one, bro?
Let me give the reveal, bro. So our boy Frank's like cruising through. He's like, man, I would have thought I would have found this by now. And he finds a little light off in the distance with windows. So Frank, like a dad, walks in. He knows Aiden's back here. He left Aiden. He's moving on to this other area. Walks into the house and sees a thing a father never wants to see.
Man.
His daughter in a very odd position. And it's not Aiden.
Toasty!
It's his daddy.
That is bro. It don't matter really who the person is. I don't know any father who wants to walk in on their daughter and doing what we read in that book. It's a very compromised spot with Errol Gardner. My favorite part about
it does kind of matter who it is, though.
A little bit, yeah, a lot.
That mattered a lot.
Yeah, that one mattered a lot. My favorite part about it is Frank, no hesitation, bro. He put the paws on Aaron Gardner.
My man Frank took all those years of lifting packages from UPS trucks and put that to work as he was slaying Mr. Gardner.
My man did the best he could do, too, before Hugo jumped in and knocked him out. Yeah. Maggie Wild, bro.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, you remember when he was talking, he said the worst part is that he saw Maggie's eyes look behind him, but she did not warn her father that he was about to get knocked out.
Yeah.
Gosh, this girl, bro.
Man, I know, dude. That girl wild. I actually posted in our Discord. I was like, dude, that seemed like the big reveal of the book, right? Like the ha-ha. And it was like, when it happened, I'm like, dude, how did I not see? It's like right in front of your face, especially when they start throwing the red flags on Maggie. So I was actually like, dude, where does this story even go? And so the next morning we jump into part 4 called The Wedding, and Frank wakes up in the home. For whatever reason, the dude keeps waking up with daddy long legs all around him. And Frank's like, dude, I want to leave. I'm done with all this. He goes to Tammy. He's like, we need to bounce. He confesses to her everything he's learned, the truth about Dawn's murder, what Maggie's doing with Earl. What's Tammy do, bro? She hits Frank with every family has dirty laundry and every family has secrets. We need to mind our own business.
Bro.
Like,
Okay.
bro, hey, I live by a code called $0 to mind your own business. I don't think that applies here, homie. You got murder.
Here's the thing, bro. So she got $250,000.
Yeah.
She got $250,000. Frank even acknowledges this later on.
He does.
He doesn't blame her. He understands he may do the same thing in her position. She struggled her whole life.
Right.
And finally, she sees a way to have a little less struggle. Still don't make it right.
Ain't no way, bro.
Ain't no way, bro. I don't even care.
Frank was trying to ride for her too, and he's like, man, she's a change of catheter. I don't care, homie. Dude. Murder. Dude. Not one, two bodies at this point.
Right. And the thing is, remember when Aiden was like, Frank, gotta chill, bro. Or you're gonna end up gone. Like Don. Like Gwendolyn. You're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
If you do not chill. Frank. And Aiden was trying. Aiden's starting to become a hero here at this point. He is,
dude. Which is weird. Like, I get, like,
what a great shift, though.
It is a great shift. I agree, because the whole book I didn't trust him, and I'm a clown for that. But we kind of get into the heart of Maggie and Frank's split. What happened? The other mystery I was curious about from the beginning of the book. What happened 3 years ago? Maggie pulls up to Frank's house, and she's like, hey, Dad, I'm home. And he's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, blah, blah, blah. They have a weekend together. Maggie's kind of aloof. And then when she's leaving, she's like, Dad, if people come around asking about me, say I got here on Friday. Frank's an upstanding homie. He's like, bro, you got here Saturday morning. What you talking about? She's like, no, Dad, I need this.
Yeah.
And wouldn't tell Frank why.
Yeah.
And, well, dude, Frank gets approached by a detective and gives him all the information about a case. Turns out there's some dude named Oliver, Dr. Cell Phone, just some sad, lonely dude who liked his Legos.
Yeah, dude.
Man.
The bro just wanted to build the Millennium Falcon in his basement. He didn't need no trouble.
I mean, he was like 48, creeping on a 20-year-old he worked with, and Maggie manipulated that.
Maggie was sending him those little photos, bro.
Yeah, sending little pictures, manipulated this sad, lonely dude into burning his business down and splitting the insurance money.
Yeah. And dude, hey, listen, bro. He ain't no snitch either. He didn't give it up.
Hey,
he was with him, bro. He took the fall 100%.
I can't even say the word I want to say for this, but man, Oliver, bro, what you doing?
Yeah, bro. What are
Dr. Cell Phone, Dr. Clown, bro? What you?
Yeah, bro. You got played.
You got played big time, homie.
Dirty.
And I will say, dude, Oliver, you rode, bro, because you did not snitch her out. My man, I think they even mentioned Oliver ends up shanked in a prison.
He dies in a prison incident. Bro,
I hope those boudoir photos were worth it, player.
Here's the thing about Maggie so far, okay? Wherever there's Maggie, there's a string of bodies right now.
Man.
Dead bodies. All pointing back to Maggie, because not only did they burn the business down for insurance purposes, a fireman died in the fire fighting.
Had a new baby. They made it work.
They really built that up. So now she's got that guy who's gone. Oliver dies. He gone. And then you got
Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn's gone. And Dawn's not really on Maggie, but I mean Maggie's definitely trying to help cover it up. So go on, sorry.
Right. Well, when Maggie was telling Frank about her and Errol and what happened with Dawn, we'll get there. But so this whole time, the thing that caused the rift, Frank told the detective Maggie got there when she did, and he didn't lie to the detective. The only reason Maggie got off is because, like you said, Oliver wouldn't name her as his accomplice. He remained quiet. All the evidence they had on Maggie being there was circumstantial. So she got to walk free. Mm-hmm. Maggie out of pocket. At this point, even Frank's out of pocket to me because he's still there. Tammy out of pocket. Like, I get you do things for your kids, but he's like,
can I intercede in this for just a moment?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
On Frank's behalf, please.
Yeah, please. Here we go. Hey, defend Frank. I'm here for you.
All right, bro. How's Frank getting out of there, bro?
That's a good point.
They got his Jeep. They got his keys. You got a Hugo who's killing people.
Yeah, Frank ain't going nowhere. You're right.
Where are you going, Frank?
It's just like, he's like, you know what, man? I'm going to let her go through with the marriage because what else am I supposed to do? Maggie's wild. I never thought she'd turn out like this. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And her and Errol all have it out. Maggie's like, look, Dad, I just got to marry Aiden 6 to 12 months. We got a prenuptial. I get half his shares of capacity, financial independence for the rest of my life. You don't ever have to work again. And Frank's like, people are dying. And Maggie, being the psychopath that she is, kind of laughs it off like, Gwendolyn? Oh, and Dawn? Crazy. She got in too deep. And it's like, because Maggie was with Errol when they found him.
And Maggie's trying to justify death at this point.
Yeah.
And this is where, she was already trifling. This is where I drew the line. Well, I drew the line a long time ago, but this is where it ultimately was one of those like, hold up, bro. Like you're actually like legitimately sick and twisted at this point.
She is.
You're justifying the death of 2 young women just because you're more concerned about getting your money,
getting that payday.
Yeah,
man, getting that greed.
Yeah.
And then my man Frank, he's like, you know what, dude? I might not agree with it all, but she's my daughter. I'm gonna go through with it. He suits up. My man suits up. Everything's going as planned. Errol runs into Frank at the wedding. I'm excited for this encounter. My man Errol didn't even act like he had those hands on him 12 hours ago. But there's one small problem, brother. Aiden didn't show up. Aiden's like, man, I ain't Maggie nuts. I ain't going through with this.
Yeah, he ain't about it.
Aiden ain't a sucker, man. Everybody's panicking. Frank's like, I know where Aiden is. He's in his little studio, not on the map. So he rolls out. Aiden in the fallout shelter. Aiden's like got a gun sitting on the table. He's going through it. The homie Frank talks him off the ledge as if you need another reason to like Frank.
Yeah. So Frank's just a dude. He's just like, when we think about, you get that picturesque blue collar, just good person that just works hard and puts money on the table, takes pride in their work, loves what they do, is loyal to company, family, and all the things. When you think of that picturesque person, that's Frank. And here's our boy Frank, who's now going into a bomb shelter, finds Aiden, who is really, Aiden's got a gun. Aiden's ready to be done. Aiden's like, I'm not doing any of this. I'm done. And that led me to believe too that his relationship with Gwendolyn was a little deeper than, than what we were originally. Not that they tried to steer us off course, but Maggie did try to make it sound like it was more of a fling. But it seems to me like Aiden was legitimately like in love with this girl. And so here's Aiden. He's ready to be done. Frank's like, let's get out of here. Me and you, bro, we're going to run. Is there a break in the fence that we could escape? Is there anywhere that we can go? And he finally gets Aiden to agree to do it. And Aiden's like, okay, let's do it, Frank. I'm with you. Let's escape. Let's get out of here. And they get to the front porch and they're not alone.
Yeah, bro. We got Hugo, Errol Gardner, Jerry. They're waiting on him, man.
It's always Hugo, bro.
It's always Hugo, bro. That one hurt that scene hurt my soul.
Because our boy, then, once he sees them, he does what we expect, because he runs straight back into the storm shelter or whatever, the bomb shelter. And they hear a pop, a loud echoing pop. And Frank, in this moment, Hugo goes, I'm going downstairs. Because Hugo's seen this kind of stuff before. Earl and his lawyer are all upstairs, and Frank's like, I'm going to go with him. And in that story, Frank says, and I wish now that I never would have, because the description of Aiden's final moments, and we won't even say him here, because if you read the book, you already know, are so brutal. Hugo's even looking over and goes, don't worry, it'll be over in just a minute. And you're just like
forcing Frank to watch.
And it's just, it is tough. Oh my gosh, what a scene.
Yeah, it was tough. And I had questions, dude. Like, Did Aiden really get mugged? Like that was just a tell, like a red herring to throw us off? Like my man really got mugged at the beginning of the book, huh?
Well, see, I'm kind of wondering that too, because now we're still, I don't know.
Because they never really answered that. They didn't answer what that book under the toilet was.
And I'm wondering now too. Here's what you want me to hear prediction time real quick.
Yeah, dude,
here's what I think it was. Earl didn't care that his son just died.
No.
If we remember, he's pretty much, he even looks over his lawyer, Jerry, and goes, well, now what? You know, like
that was like,
now what do we do? What are we saying about this? You know? And it was so like calm and like, I don't care that he's down there dead. And we get a reveal for that too later. But really, I think a part of me thinks that Aiden's mugging, quote unquote, was his dad beating the crap out of him to get him to go and play ball. That's what I think. I'm gonna
co-sign that, dude.
I think that he wants his dad to play ball, or his dad wanted him to play ball, and they basically beat him into submission to go and play fiance in front of Frank.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes.
I think that's going to probably be pretty accurate on the nose. And we learned that Aiden wasn't like actually Errol Gardner's biological son. Right. Like Catherine stepped out. Errol kind of supported him financially and not much else. And Frank's got to stay mum about everything because they kind of like if Maggie has any shot of getting out of here, like Frank's got to get Tammy and get gone with the other wedding guests. And we had that nice scene where Frank can't find Abigail, and she was like described as the last one at the weddings, like a little girl with a crown of flowers. And they had that conversation, and they were both just really upset about everything. And Abigail's like grieving, and Frank being Frank, like all this is going around on him. He completely ignores anything going on his phone. He's like, he takes the time to let this girl grieve and work through her feelings with them. And this little girl has no ties to this family at all. She just wanted to, see a wedding, get to do something cool as this foster kid. I thought that was a really cool scene.
I did too. I have a prediction now.
What's up, dude?
It just came to me, literally just flooded into my brain. That was a beautiful scene, by the way. Frank finally showing some compassion towards her, and she wasn't a burden, but it was almost as if he was glad to see her. And even the fact that, he knew that she had lice and she was putting her head on basically in his hair. And he's just like, whatever, dude, let's just get you where you need to go. Here's what I think is going to happen now. He had to sign that agreement.
Yep.
She did not.
Ooh.
Last one at the wedding is the title of the book. What if she's the one that cracks this whole entire thing? And she goes, all right, man. All right, sorry. Let's keep going.
Hey, dude, look at the big brain on Pitt over there. I actually like that, dude, because I have no idea how this one ends. Like, I feel like that scene with Frank and Abigail could have been the ending, and it's just like, man, everything sucks. But there's another part. We have one final part which we'll cover next week. I kind of feel like maybe the book ends and Frank like cuts ties with Maggie and adopts Abigail, or if we go the unhappy route, Frank gets murdered with pride being his downfall, kind of like how he said, like, I want to pay for this alcohol. And he didn't need to, and he insisted, and they finally let him do it. Yeah. Something to do with his pride gets him murdered. I really hope it's the former, and he just adopts Abigail, and they ride off in the sunset. Dude.
Yeah.
He tries again with her.
He'll be on his deathbed. He'll be like, Abigail, you got to tell him everything.
Yeah,
and Abigail's our hero.
I was just hoping Frank would adopt Abigail and kind of like, all those things he felt like he did wrong with Maggie, which really none of them were wrong. It was just parenting in a moment. There's no book on how to do it. And I feel like he would try and be like, I'm going to do better by this kid.
Yeah. Here's the deal, friends, as we're wrapping this up. Frank and Abigail are the two best characters in the whole thing.
Without question.
They are redeeming characters. Our boy Aiden was too. He was an all right guy. He was just stuck in a tough situation. We didn't like him before, but now we like him. So That's the way this works, doesn't it? and these crafty little thrillers of books. But this has been a banger. And if for whatever reason you're listening to this and you haven't read this, go check it out. We highly recommend this. Stay tuned because we'll be checking out part 3 next week. We can't wait to see how this one ends. Robert, you got final 3 words, bro? No. Maggie is trifling.
Hey, Maggie is wild.
There you go. We'll just take both of those as our final 3. Friends, here in Nerdy Reads Podcast, we enjoy a good story. We believe your story matters, so be good to each other and stay nerdy. We'll see you guys